It is Sunday, July 19th, 2020. We're in the second half of the year. And if you haven't figured out already, that for a lot of people, this is coming in the crunch time for the year now. For many people, a lot of people now are experiencing either job loss or just reconsidering where they want to be at in their careers. And there is somebody who I just became aware of recently over the last few weeks. I found out not only that he's pretty much like an innovator in his space, but he's also somebody from Atlanta. And so I'm looking forward to talking to him. I think he legitimately is going to be somebody that you people at home or people anywhere else are going to really get to know him soon on a national level, even bigger than where he already is. His name is Ruben Harris. He has a company called Career Karma, and we're going to talk about what it means today to enter the new marketplace during the age of COVID. And without further ado, I'm gonna let him introduce himself from there. So what's up, Ruben?
What up, bro? King Williams, man. Thank you for having me on the show. Quick intro. Yeah, I mean, he did a great job introducing me. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of Career Karma. I'm also the co-host of the Breaking into Startups podcast. So big shout out to all the podcasters out here. For the people that don't know what Career Karma does, Career Karma is an app that matches career transitioners to job training programs so they could get high-paying jobs in tech in about a year. We have an app on iPhone and Android, and if you don't have a phone, you can log on the web on our web app. What makes our software unique is not only will we match you with one of 450 job training programs across the country, but we'll give you support during the program, during the job search, and for the rest of your life. The average salary that people make through our process is $70,000 to $100,000. The jobs that we focus on are software engineering, design, and data science. And the short version is, if you want to tell your friends, we can help anybody go from low income to high income in a short amount of time. Just tell them to holla at me.
Right. And so the reason that's what we're talking today is because I know a lot of people, myself in particular here in Atlanta, who have either been fired, they got in furlough, and they don't really know what to do. And so when I came across what your service does, can you explain to people like how they even would get involved with that service in the first place, and like how does it work for them?
Yeah. So like you said, there's 51 million Americans that lost jobs in the last 17 to 18 weeks, which is a problem. A lot of these jobs are gone permanently. And so anybody that wants to get a job in tech essentially comes to Career Karma and they fill out a profile called Fast Track. You can find it at careerkarma.com/apply, APPLY. And essentially what it's going to do is help us understand what your needs are and what your goals are, and we'll match you with one of these different schools that are best for you. And then that peer mentorship group called the squad that I told you, and our coaches will give you support to get accepted into a program. That process to get accepted into a program is called the 21-day CK challenge, which is a 5 minutes a day challenge. And if you are someone that has been laid off or furloughed due to COVID-19, I'm also doing this campaign called Reskill America, the Great Rehiring Initiative, where I'm raising $500,000 and giving away 5,000 laptops. And so if you need a laptop, just let us know. I tell people I'm giving away laptops like Oprah gives away cars. So all you got to do is just let us know, and I got you.
All right. And so I got to ask you in particular, what made you want to do this in the first place? Because a lot of people just wouldn't even have like the foresight to even do something like this.
Yeah, I mean, when we talked about the pre-chat, for example, right? You asked me what high school I went to because we both from Atlanta. I went to small schools that a lot of people never heard of. Even though I was right across the street from Mays on the west side, and even I grew up on the east side, I went to Atlanta Adventist Academy that nobody ever heard of. And then my college that I went to was called Southern Adventist University. And I tell people that's the best school you never heard of. But when you're trying to get into these elite spaces, nobody knows what they are. And before coronavirus, everything was just a college-driven labor market. That was like the way that you get into a job. And I was able to get into one of the most elite worlds of the labor market in a pre-COVID world called investment banking, when college was still an issue. So like I was able to get a job as an investment banker for 3 years at Suntrust Robinson Humphrey in Atlanta and BMO Capital Markets in Chicago, by learning a lot of things. And then as the tech industry started blowing up in Chicago and Atlanta, I was able to break into tech and really understand what someone needs to do in order to get a job if they didn't go to an Ivy League school or didn't go to college or high school, period, because I started discovering so many successful people that either dropped out of college or didn't go to an elite school and figured out their own way. So long story short, I tell people that Career Commerce is a product that we wish that we had when we were breaking into tech. This is just, it's not a company that we just dreamed up of. It's a calling.
Yeah, and I got to ask you in particular about your company because you're out in California, you're doing big things, and so for a lot of people, they want to start a company or they want to start an initiative, but they don't really know how to get that off the ground. Like, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to get a company off the ground?
Yeah, number one, you got to read an article called "Software's Eating the World." I think that's important because with Mark Andreessen, exactly,
yeah.
Because a lot of people want to start businesses, and the pandemic hit the entire world like a nuclear bomb, and the only thing that was left standing was, well, not even all tech companies, but some tech companies, right? And so if you're building a company that doesn't have tech at its core, that's a problem. And so most people have never worked at a startup centric type company, I would argue. And so if you want to start a business, I think it's important for you to work at a tech company first for at least 1 or 3 years so you know how the game works before starting a company. Not only so you understand how the game works, but also so you can get friends and allies that also understand how the game works, because building companies is a team sport, right? So you got to have people on your team that are going to help you build a company, right? There's no such thing as a self-made person. So I would say learn the game, work at it, play the game, get your team up, find a coach. That's what I would say. Start there.
All right. And so I want to ask you in particular, one of the things you talked about, you mentioned before, which is like this notion of reskill in America. And so right now, a lot of people out of work, like you said, 51 million people out of work right now. Like, how does somebody even think to even start to reskill? Like they may have heard, they listen to the podcast now, they kind of like realize they might be afraid to even do that because they don't know what that means. Like, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for the people that have never heard of the term like the fourth industrial revolution, which is what we're currently living in, essentially there's no such thing as just working for one job and going to one school forever anymore. You're going to go from school to school to school and company to company to company. So whenever you choose what you want to do, don't think about it like I'm an engineer now or a designer now or a nurse now. Like you can be an engineer, designer, and a data scientist in one lifetime, right? So you want to start thinking about who you are as an individual and what you want to be known for when you die, or maybe what you want people to say at your 90th birthday, so it's not so dark, right? And when you think about that, what skills is it going to take for you to get there? And so when you think about reskilling and upskilling and what you want to do, I tell people, to your point, it's scary, right? So don't really commit to anything. Just start exploring and trying different things, okay? And so that whole process that we have with Fast Track at careerkarma.com/apply and that whole 21-day challenge is designed to really help you talk to other human beings, because a lot of people will just do research online, talk to other human beings. Also, if you like what they have to say, they'll give you resources that are like beginner resources. Play with it, see if you like it. And then I would actually start listening to podcasts like yours or mine, or watching YouTube videos so you can understand what a day in the life is like. And then you're not going to know everything. So don't get caught up with perfection. For some reason, society like really focuses on perfection so much. Just understand concepts and just go in that direction and recognize that you need to commit to at least doing it for a year. So I grew up playing music. So my mom, when she signed me up for cello lessons, because I've been playing the cello for almost 30 years, the teacher said,
Okay.
I will teach your son if you commit to him playing for at least a year. So whatever you all do, commit to it for at least a year. Don't overthink it. Just try to pick a role that's going to give you the most options for a post-COVID-19 environment.
I'm glad you said that because one thing I mentioned to you before, like when we started, was, all right, so you're a black man, you're doing big things. A lot of black people in particular, we're getting left behind in this job market. what do you say to people who still are kind of thinking and finding or living in the job market that was the job market pre-COVID, right? Because a lot of us are just kind of getting left behind. We don't even know where to go or what to do next.
Mhm. Mhm. I think that the problem with media is that we fetishize CEOs and venture capitalists too much, and
Okay.
especially for us, what happens is the media will encourage everybody to start companies, and like we gotta invest in founders, black founders, and VCs. And I'm not saying that that's not important, super important, right? But like you don't have to start a company to be rich. You can help somebody build a company to get rich. You know, you can be part of the team that, like, if you're the first 100 people at Facebook or Amazon, you're gonna be rich. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Having a W on your record matters. And so what I would say is in addition to the things that I mentioned before about figuring out what skill sets you want to do, I would start thinking about being a VC with your time. And for the
Okay.
people that don't know what a VC is, a VC is a venture capitalist. The venture capitalist gives money to people that want to start companies, right? And so the reason why I say being a VC with your time is important is because the VC only wants to invest in people starting companies that are going to be billion-dollar companies, right? And so for human beings that are in the labor market, your time is more valuable than money, right?
Right.
And so wherever you spend your time, you want to make sure that it gives you $1 billion outcome, whether that's financial, whether that's learning, whether that is network, whatever. So when you choose which types of companies you want to work for, don't just aim for the Googles or the Facebooks or the Netflix. I'm not saying don't go there, but there's so many startups that are out there that you need to understand what exists. Sign up for a newsletter like Strictly VC that's going to give you daily updates of companies that are raising millions of dollars, and then see which ones are interesting to you. And anytime a company raises money, guess what? They're hiring. And also, guess what? They probably don't have those jobs listed on the website. You will never get a job. I'm not going to say you'll never get a job. Most people, most of you guys listening will not get a job through the website. 80% of jobs are offline and come through referral. Only 20% of jobs are listed online. So you got to get your network up. So just keep in mind, certificates and degrees don't get you jobs. Neither does learning how to code. You got to have your network up. You got to learn how to work with other people, but you also got to understand how to pick companies that are aligned with who you are as a person. That's going to position you to win.
Yeah. And I want to
I
actually
can go
piggyback on
deeper
that.
if you want me to.
And then I wanted to piggyback on that because it seems like with your particular company in particular, you've managed, I don't want to say hack it for like a better of a word, but like people who come through your program are able to get these jobs that you're talking about. And so why has your company been so successful compared to others?
It's because we have a different view of thinking, right? Like for us, since we've been in the game for so long, like I've been in Silicon Valley since 2014. To your point, just for the people that don't know, and I'm not saying this I'm just saying this because you brought it up so people know. Like, so we completed Y Combinator, which is already hard to get into than Stanford. We raised millions of dollars in venture capital money, which less than 2% of Black people don't raise. We also worked at the top startups from seed stage all the way to IPO. So we've been able to understand how people make decisions, right? How people get hired, how the game works. And so the way that the game works is like, let's say I'm a music producer in Atlanta, right? What if I can show you all the music producers that went to coding boot camps in Atlanta that are now working in San Francisco, that are Falcons fans, right? Now I got my people. I could move to any city. Imagine I could show you that in any city. All the Falcons fans across the nation that went to boot camps that are in Atlanta that are former sound engineers. Now I got my people because we got an instant connection. That's not what school you went to, right? And they will vouch for me and skip the normal recruiting process to give me the shot to prove that I have the skills, right? The tech industry, and I say this a lot, is very similar to the music industry. right? It'll hire anybody, but the hardest part of breaking into music is not learning how to rap or play guitar or sing. It's playing your record for the right person, right? I've never gotten a job through the website personally in my life, right? I've always had to either go around it, under it, or kick in the door,
Yeah.
right? And that's what we're doing. We're kicking in the door for people and letting them know how to do it. Like you said, we've hacked it, and I call myself a social engineer, and I'm not even a software engineer. My co-founders are software engineers.
Right.
So
No, and you brought up something else, which is in the case of like you being the founder, which is I met a few people who want to start businesses, but they say, you know, I can't cook or I can't draw or I don't know coding, but that didn't stop you, right? So what do you tell people like this right now who feel like they don't have the skill set to do the thing they actually want to do?
yeah. So if you want to start a company in the future, you do need somebody that knows how to code on your team. And that doesn't mean outsource it and get somebody to build it for you. You either are going to have somebody on your team that is really good at coding, or you're going to have to code yourself, period. Ideally, you want to take at least some coding classes so you can communicate with engineers, even if you're not a coder, because code is the language of tech companies. And if the entire world is driven by code, if software is eating the world, right? And half the world is currently not connected to the internet, there's going to be 4 billion new people coming online in the next 6 years. You probably should know how to speak that language, right?
Good point.
So I would say either focus on coding or getting a friend that has coding. And if you don't do that, then you should focus on sales and distribution. I think both of those skill sets are actually very, very natural to people from Atlanta and from our people, right? Because you know the music industry, like, I'm kind of upset why like Black people didn't invent Apple Music or Spotify or SoundCloud, right? Like that should be us, right? But
Yeah.
that's a different conversation. But we did figure out how to get into software engineering, sound engineering, to create some of the best music of all time, music period of all time. And we're hustlers, man. Like whether it's trapping, whether it is like just any type of hustle, right? We know how to sell. We are built to build companies, like for sure. But like a company, like I don't want people to think about companies as like just this money making entity. Like the best companies, the best marketing is a mission. And whatever you decide to build, don't do it just for money. Focus on solving problems and helping people. And if you help people help themselves, you will build a generational company that will last hundreds of years and make you very rich. If you want to be a billionaire, help a billion people.
Right. And I like that idea. And so I want to ask you in particular, we're both from Atlanta. Like, what do you feel about Atlanta's prospects of like the next generation of companies, right? Because a lot of people are just kind of trying to figure out. Everybody wants to be either Silicon Valley or something like that. Like, what do you think about Atlanta and its prospects to be the next big thing?
Yeah, no, I think Atlanta's Wakanda. I think Atlanta is very well positioned to win. Like we got 2 investors from Atlanta. We actually have 3 investors from Atlanta. So we have Paul Judge,
Oh, that's
who
what's up. The
also
OG.
is
The OG.
at the exactly.
Yeah.
So he runs Tech Square Labs, but he's also the SoftBank Opportunity Fund. He also started Pindrop and a bunch of other companies. We have Jewel Burks as an investor as well.
That's my
Who
buddy.
started Collab Capital, and then she started a $50 million fund. So shout out to her. We also have a guy named Ramin Sheath, he's a podcaster as well, but he's an early investor in a bunch of other companies. He runs a medical staffing company in Atlanta. I'm pretty sure we got some other Atlanta people involved. Shout out to all of them. I can't think about them right now, but those are Atlanta people. I think coronavirus has actually positioned Atlanta very well because you don't have to leave Atlanta anymore, right? You can actually stay in Atlanta and work remotely for any company, whether it's Atlanta based or not, right? Most companies in the post COVID-19 world will be remote or a hybrid of both. A good example is someone in Career Karma. Everybody should check out her story. Her name's Keisha Lake. She came to Career Karma last year speaking of laptops. She had no laptop, got a laptop through Career Karma. She got a job by November making $98,500 at Stitch Fix in Atlanta. And this year, she just told us that she bought a house. So, like I said, level up from low income to high income short amount of time. She didn't finish college. She tried to go to college for 10 years. Very intelligent woman, powerful woman. But just a great example of like how you can live mom, like you could be a mom, she's a mom as well, Black woman, and be in your community and not have to leave. And so a lot of my friends from Atlanta, Lee and his daughter, shout out to Lee and his daughter, and a bunch of other people that I grew up with in the church, they all are coming to Career Commons so they can stay at home and help their families level up. And just to put one more point on this, like we said, 51 million people lost jobs. I want to get 5,000 people laptops. You know what happens when 5,000 people get jobs making $100,000? You know what happens? They collectively earn $500 million. That's not a lot of people. So if we can do that for 51 million people, now the game has changed, right? So anyway, I don't know if I answered your question.
No, I like that because I wanted to ask in particular because a lot of people right now are just trying to figure out where they fit, where the city they live in fit. And so you hit a couple of questions I was going to ask you anyway. And so I want to ask you this in particular, which is, you're in a rare position, man. Like, you're a Black guy, you've been investment bank in Silicon Valley, starting a company to help other people generate money.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about it? Do you think of yourself as an exception to the rule, or do you think that this is the future?
I think I want everybody to be better than me. I definitely think that I'm in a privileged position.
Okay.
I definitely think that because I am here, to your point, I am rare, but I don't have to be the only one. I don't want to be the only one. And I think that part of the reason why I'm here is because I ignored a lot of the conventional things that were kind of like encouraged for me. Like doing my MBA, for example. Like, everybody was like, oh, if you're a Black person, you got to get your MBA, you got to get your CPA, you got your CFA, you got to do all of that. And I was like, why would I spend $150,000, waste 2 years of my life working on case studies about startups when I could actually work at actual startups, get money? And then now, shout out to Harvard Business School. Harvard Business School just did a case study about Career Commons that they're teaching in the fall. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's what's
right?
up, man.
And no shade to people that do MBAs either, because I do think that learning about business is valuable. But I would say what I figured out was not rocket science, and I do want to help a lot of people do this. It's interesting because I study like a lot of things like Tony Robbins and impact theory and Tom Bilyeu and people like that. Tony Robbins did something very interesting for elite people that can afford his courses. Imagine if you can help the hood or like people from low income communities get access to breakthroughs for free and realize their full potential. Like, if you can help people realize their full potential and tap into that, I think the whole world will change. And so that's what I'm really focused on.
No, and I respect that. And so I want to ask you in particular too, because you're out there making moves out west. And one of the things that's been coming up a lot though is this notion of diversity and equity, not just in the tech space, but across the board. So like, have you seen anything that has actually been reflective of that in the last few weeks, or is this more just people saying things and not doing something?
That's a good question. I definitely think that this time period feels different, for sure. There's a lot of people that aren't just making statements; they are doing things. There's a lot of pledges that are happening. It's not just Black people talking about it; it's every race talking about it. I like the mantra of "make the hires on the wire." However, I am noticing that, like, even though there's a lot of pledges, something that could be helpful is making it clear who the right point of contact is, making the application for those resources very easy to understand, right? And make it open to the people in the communities that need those resources. When you have the application, make it easy to fill out and not like a ridiculous process. Because a lot of times what people do is they make pledges and it just funds the same people that they've been funding for years, right? And also what happens is the pledges aren't always dollar pledges. So you might see somebody that'll say like $100 million pledge, but it's not just money. It's like things in kind. Like
Right.
it could be like laptops, which isn't a bad thing, right? I'd rather get laptops than money, to be honest with you. I don't need the money. If you give me the laptops, I can help people, right? So that's not always a bad thing, but just keep in mind that when people say that they're pledging money or these big numbers, sometimes it's not just money. It's like it can be volunteer hours that they quantified into things. So like there's still some smoke and mirrors out there. So keep that in mind. And then I think speed matters, right? Because people are hurting now. And I think that even though a lot of people were quick to make the statements, they're very slow to cash out and or to do. And I think more people should start cashing out and doing for people that need help because people are hurting now. So one other thing. Well, no, I'll just say that. No, people are working. You're seeing a lot of Black people winning right now. It's always been cool to be Black, but it's even cooler to be Black now. So,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. And so I do want to switch
And it's
subject.
sad that George Floyd had to go through that in order to make all this happen, by the way.
Right. And so I don't want to dismiss that at all. And so I
Yeah.
want to ask in particular too, because it's a two-part question. This is the first part of it. Seems to be more of a charge for Black men in particular to get into a phase of entrepreneurship and a phase of ownership of businesses.
Hmm.
As somebody who's making the steps and making the right decisions, what do you want to say to those Black men who may be looking to Ruben now to say, you know what, maybe I want to be like Ruben or at least like learn from him? What do you want to tell that person?
Yeah. So after you follow the steps that I already encourage you to follow, and you have your first job at a tech company, but and you have your friends that you want to build with, what I encourage you to do is build a side project. Maybe even before you get the job in tech, like maybe you have your idea that you want to build now with your friends now. What you can do is fill out your fast track profile, go through the process to get into a boot camp. And when you're in the boot camp, build the project that you feel is going to be your future business idea. We can call that your MVP, also known as your minimum viable product. And then when you get into your job that's going to pay you good money, make sure that you are leveraging all the resources that they give you to keep building out that project, right? And with the project, your main KPI or key performance indicator should be revenue, because the way that you solve somebody's problem should lead to revenue, right? And then once that side project has made enough money for you to quit your job, you can quit your job, or you can hit me up and say you want to get into Y-Combinator, and I can explain how to go through that process. Obviously, you still have to interview, but I'm happy to mock interview you and help you get in. And then you could raise money and do the same thing. So that's my thoughts.
No, I like that. And then the second part of that question is, in particular, which is right now, the movement is still going on. It's 51 days now, continual protest. What do you say to a lot of people right now who, because we're from Atlanta, this means a lot, but what do you say to people right now who are still angry about things in society and still want to see change? Like, what do you want to say to that person?
I want to say that protesting and rioting is important.
Okay.
However, I think that, well, let me no, however, protesting, rioting is important, and organizers are magical people. What I want you to do is to study Huey Newton and the 10 points of the Black Panther Party. And specifically, I want you to focus on the 10th point of the Black Panther Party, where Huey Newton called for, and Elaine Brown, who was also the chairwoman of the Black Panther Party, she talked about people's community control of modern technology. Okay, and techactivist.org talks a lot about this as well. So you should study techactivist.org. But the civil rights movement is outdated, and it is extremely important for organizers and protesters and rioters to learn how to get their tech skills up. Because even if you don't want to break into tech and break into a startup, the movement needs to be digitized, right? We got to learn how to take over these digital streets, because if the entire world is digitally connected and people, places, and things like Google Home and cars are connected, you're going to have way more power understanding how to code or design or use data in order to organize. So keep doing what you're doing, but at the same time, make sure you get your tech skills up so that we can get people's community control of modern technology and take over these digital streets.
No, and I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people right now, I think, are diving in back into Black history. And I think that the Black Panther Party in particular, with the 10-point program and that particular point, I think is something that for a lot of people who are hearing this for the first time, I think it's worth pausing and actually going to actually read the whole 10-point program. But like you said, that 10-point in particular, it has it relates to basically everything. And I think that sometimes we can learn a lot by looking backwards. And I think that that's really a good thing that you highlighted. And so I actually want to ask you.
Can I say one more thing about that? Like something else that techactivist.org talks a lot about is what would Malcolm X do if he had social media, right? What would Dr. Martin Luther King have if he had social media? What would John Lewis do, RIP, if he had social media, right? I mean, he did have social media, but like, what if John Lewis knew how to code? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like what would he build?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? What would he build right now? What would Malcolm X build right now? You know, what would, you know what I'm saying? So like Angela Davis, same type of thing. So like, as we think about this type of stuff, just like there's a lot of power in learning how to code. It's not just getting money. This is the first time in history we could reach billions of people online. Another reason why this whole George Floyd thing is so big is because of social media, and because we can amplify this, and because videos of police brutality can spread virally. So anyway, you were going to ask a question. Sorry.
No, you kind of led me into that. And I just wanted to get your thoughts, because two of our legends died actually in Atlanta 2 days ago: C.T., Vivian, and John Lewis. And so, I didn't know if you had any words or any thoughts about the passing of both of them.
Yeah, I mean, just what I said. I think it's important to respect our elders always. It's not just our elders, but just like people that have done remarkable things before us, and to not let those dreams die, right? Going back to what I said about just the whole George Floyd thing being amplified, you know, Malcolm X also said media is the most powerful entity in the world, right? And so it's important for us to amplify not just the injustices, but the remarkable things that our leaders are doing using technology, and also making sure that historical things that our predecessors have done can be incorporated into these new products that we're building. All right. That's why I'm always quoting a lot of our leaders, because if we can put those elements into the products that we're building, it's gonna stand on their shoulders. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's very difficult to do that. But I think that our generation is pissed off. I'm proud of what we've been doing.
Yeah.
And I think that if we can channel that into entrepreneurial pursuits, movements, things like the Poor People's Campaign, like that Reverend Dr. Barber is doing to honor Dr. Martin Luther King. If we could like take that online and do things like that online, like it's over with. Like marching on Washington is amazing, and we should definitely like keep doing stuff like that. But like let's take over these digital streets. I'm telling you, that's the way.
No, I'm with you on that one. And so I want to ask you one thing in particular, because we're going to wrap up in a second, which is what is something in particular that people may get misconstrued about yourself or the tech industry that you kind of want to correct right now?
It's a good question. I mean, a lot of people think that Career Karma is just a lead gen platform, right? So they'll say, all right, Career Karma matches people to boot camps, and then they get paid from boot camps, and then they just like leave me alone. And that's like that's their model. And then so it's just like a lead gen marketplace. And so for the people that don't know, Career Karma, the way we make money is because the staffing business is a big business. So whenever we help schools and companies find qualified applicants, they pay us a fee to keep it free for you. So saying that Career Karma is a lead gen platform is flawed because it assumes that I pass you to the school and then I leave you alone. What people don't realize is that we maintain the relationships before the boot camp, during the boot camp when you're in the squad, during the job search. We will help you find a job, so you won't just have access to your boot camp. You have access to all the people from the boot camps in our community. You can upload your projects in the Career Karma, and we can connect you to our network of over 2,000 companies to help you get jobs. And so that is a huge feature. And for reference, so you can know the scale of Career Karma, we currently have over 500,000 people that come to Career Karma a month now.
Oh, wow.
So you have a family of people that are holding you down, and we're tracking to be at over 1 million people a month coming to us in the fall, right? So just so you have perspective. So that's a very common thing that gets misconstrued, is that like Career Karma is not lead gen, because we maintain a relationship throughout. And even if you do want to think about it like lead gen, that's like calling Google and Facebook lead gen businesses because they get paid through Google AdWords, whereas Facebook ads are saying that those aren't good businesses. So it's just like something to keep in mind that like, I remember when I first started the company and it was hard for me to like convince people to give us venture capital money because they didn't like fully stand the business model. But now they're starting to be believers because we're doing very well and we're profitable. So it's great.
All right. And so now I actually, before we wrap up, I just want to ask you in particular, how can people get in contact with you or visit Career Karma?
They can go to twitter.com/Ruben Harris, RubenHarris. They could send me an email, ruben@careerkarma.com. They could sign up for Career Karma and send me a message in Career Karma by going to careerkarma.com/apply. Or you can just hit me up on everything else, Instagram, Snapchat, all of that. It's just my name, Ruben Harris.
All right. And last question for you, Ruben. Last question in particular. I ask this to all my guests, and I'm going to ask you the same thing. So it's the same question. Mm-hmm. Everyone gets it. It's the only question I give that's similar. And that question is, what's making you happy?
What makes me happy? The best feeling is helping people be better than me. Like I'm telling, or not even just being better than me. It's just like when someone asks me for guidance, I give them the guidance, and then they do it, and like end up achieving their goal. That's the best feeling for me. When people come to me on their like at the end of their rope, and then when they share the feedback that it helped them, like the Keisha Lake story where she bought a house and she did the whole thing, that puts me in tears. Like that's the best feeling ever, and I want to do that for as many people as possible.
Respect, man, respect. And Atlanta always influences everything, first and foremost. So I'm really proud of your success. And so, what if y'all haven't already, man? For real, if it's you or somebody you know who needs to maybe make a second change in their life, please visit Career Karma. Again, please visit the website. I'll make sure I have it in the show notes for you guys to visit the website. If you haven't followed Ruben on Twitter already, please do. I'll make sure you follow him on Twitter as well. And if you haven't already, this is a Neighborhood Watch podcast. Please like and subscribe wherever you heard this at. And also, once again, if you haven't already, please sign up for my newsletter at I Am King Williams. So that's iamkingwilliams.substack, substack.com. So iamkingwilliams.substack.com. Tonight's article is actually going to be a retrospective of John Lewis and C.T. Vivian in Atlanta. And I look forward to you guys reading that one as well. It'll be out about 8:30 tonight. So once again, iamkingwilliams.substack.com. And if you want to donate, you can donate for $1 at my Patreon at patreon.com/iamkingwilliams. Thank you again, Ruben. And I appreciate it. And good luck to everything you're doing.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate the opportunity. Peace. Have a good one.
All right, you too, man.